Hello, I'm Jose with Free Sky North America. In today's video, we're going to go in depth with the trainer system. If you just need a simple trainer setup, please refer to the simple trainer setup video. That video will show you how to set up a trainer system where the student can only control the basic functions like ailerons, elevator, throttle, and rudder. Okay, soapbox mode on. I personally believe that the basic trainer mode is all anyone needs to train a student. Brakes, flaps, etc. can be easily controlled by the instructor. The trainer system is designed to teach the student how to fly. The more controls you give them, the more you are getting away from teaching the fundamentals of flying. Once basic controls are mastered by the student, they really do not need the trainer system. They can learn gear, flaps, and brakes on their own without a buddy box. The more you complicate the setup, the more chances you have for something to go wrong. For example, if you give control of the landing gear to the student, you now need to make sure that the gear is down before giving control of the plane to the student if the plane is still on the ground. More chances of damaging the plane. So, the more complicated the setup, the more complicated the checks you will need to do before the flight. If you planned on initially giving control in the air after takeoff, then you need to initially set the student radio in that mode. Flaps up, gear up, for example. If you set that up and at the last minute decide that the student should do the takeoff, you better make sure that the gear switch is down before switching to student control. Please use the trainer mode carefully if you decide to give student more than just basic controls. Okay, soapbox mode off. If you still want to do a more complex setup for the trainer system, it is very important that you understand how the trainer system works. First, let's talk about Bluetooth versus cable versus external module. Bluetooth mode is very convenient if you have two FreeSky transmitters, but it does have a few limitations. Bluetooth is limited to the first 8 channels of the student radio. But depending on how you set it up, it can control 10 or more channels. So it's not as much of a limitation as you might think. Bluetooth is limited range. If you are near the student, it shouldn't be a problem, but it is limited. Bluetooth needs both transmitters capable of the para Bluetooth system. In other words, both transmitters need to be FreeSky. Some older FreeSky transmitters aren't capable of Bluetooth, but all current transmitters are Bluetooth trainer compatible. Cable connection. Cable connection would be the most flexible. With a mono or stereo 3.5 millimeter audio cable, you have the ability to send 16 channels from the student radio to the instructor radio. Of course, you're limited by the length of the cable, so it may not be the most convenient. The cable trainer method is the most compatible. You can connect other brands of radio to your FreeSky radio. Some trainer ports on other manufacturers' radio may not have a 3.5 millimeter connector, but you can usually find an adapter that'll make it work. External module. External module would use this FWTM trainer module. This module fits in the bay in the back of the radio. The FWTM trainer module can receive 16 channels from the student radio. It is basically a receiver module inside, so the range is very good. The FWTM trainer module will bind to any student radio capable of ACCST V2 or access protocols. So choose the option that works best for your setup. Okay, so here we go. We're going to set up this MB339 that I have on the instructor radio and use the student radio. This is, I believe, 12 channels. Let me take a look. We got ailerons on channel 1 and 5, elevator on 2 and 6, throttle on 3, rudder on 4, flaps on 7 and 8, steering on 9, gear on 10, and 12 for the speed brake. So I have 12 channels. And I'm going to try to use the Bluetooth module that is only capable of 8 channels and control everything that I need from this radio. So let's go ahead and start the setup. The first thing that we're going to do is go into Model and scroll over to Trainer. I'll do the same thing on the student radio. And by the way, the student radio, I just have a basic, so for now, I just have a basic setup with one aileron channel, one elevator channel, one throttle channel, and one rudder channel. That's it. That's the only thing I have right now. We're going to add more to do the other functions, but for now, that's what I have for the basic setup. Let me go over to Trainer on this one as well. So the trainer mode that we want on this radio is master, and we're going to switch it over to Bluetooth. And it's already connected because I was playing with it earlier, but I'm going to disconnect it now. And same thing over here, trainer module. This one's going to be the student radio, so it's going to be slave. And we're going to do a Bluetooth setup. And same thing, I'm just going to disconnect so that way they are in the beginning like you would see it. So let me go through some of the menu items so that you understand it a little bit better. First thing, trainer mode on the radio that the instructor is going to control is going to be master. On the student radio, it should be slave. Link mode, we're going to do Bluetooth, but if you wanted to do trainer cable, then you use that mode, etc., etc. Bluetooth. And mode high speed, I don't see any reason why you'd switch off of that for Bluetooth. So the next items over here are only for Bluetooth. Local name, FreeSky Bluetooth, we don't need to change that. The local address is important, but it's more important on the student radio. So the first thing that we need to do is change this to master mode, and then now a bunch of options appear. So the first thing, so once we have this set up, we go over here, make this slave mode, Bluetooth, etc. Then I can come over here and search for this radio. Now over here is the local address, and it looks like F73 is the last numbers on this one. So on the list that appears when I do the search, look for the F73. Click on that. Bluetooth device is now connected.
Trainer recovered.
Now, the next thing that you need to do is assign a switch. So over here at active condition, this is when I go into trainer mode or the student mode or the instructor mode. So let's go ahead and assign a switch. And I think for this demo, I am going to use the SC switch in the down position to go into trainer mode. Generally, I would use the spring switch in the back, the momentary switch, but because I want to be able to leave it there for this demo, I'm going to choose SC. Now that you have that set up and you've acquired the other channel, the next thing that we need to do is look down this list. So over here, it says channel 1, replace aileron, channel 2, replace elevator, and so on. And then if you look past channel 4, the rest of them say no destination. And that's the way that you're going to see it when you first turn on the trainer mode. So the first thing we do is make sure that the trainer system is working. If I move over here, you'll see the channels work. And over here, it doesn't show you that because all this is showing is the trainer system. So this is showing the student radio only. Now, if we take a look, it says channel 1. Channel 1 is not the channel 1 of this radio, it's channel 1 of this radio, and I'm replacing aileron. So I'm replacing the aileron stick. So again, I didn't do anything, I didn't set anything up, but let's go ahead and take a look at the output. This is where I can tell what's happening. So I'm going to have to switch up my trainer switch. So now it's going to be the master radio control. And I'm going to go ahead and switch back to outputs. This is the page I checked to see what's happening. So if I go over here, I see that ailerons moves that direction. So moving to the right makes the channel move to the left because it's reversed. So if I turn on the student radio, I'll do the same thing, and it does exactly the same thing. Now, why is that? Same thing for elevator. And remember I said that I only had one channel on this radio for aileron and one channel for elevator. But if you take a look, I've got both my elevators working and both my aileron channels working. The reason why is the mode that we're using. We're doing stick. We're doing the analogs. Let's go back into the trainer system and I explain it better. So over here at aileron, the default mode is replace the aileron. So channel 1 from the student radio replaces the aileron stick, essentially. So I'm going to go over there and go over here to destination. So replace is what we want. Add means both of them would work at the same time. So both, you don't want that, they'll fight each other. But replace is what we want. And over here at destination is what I'm doing. So take a look over here. The two categories, the two things that we can do is analogs or channels. And this is the analogs of this radio. So in this particular mode is aileron. So analog aileron. So channel 1 is replacing the aileron stick, the aileron analog control, which is a stick. So in other words, anywhere where this stick works, it replaces it. So this is a good way, and that's the reason why you don't do any reversing, do any rates. You do the rates and reversing and everything else on this radio. So ailerons over here work, elevator works, and rudder works. Now, let's go back to the outputs page and let's take a look at something else. Let's look at rudder. So over here, we've got channel 4 rudder, and it works. If I go back out of it, the rudder works the same way. But if I scroll down this list and take a look at steer channel, my nose steering works over here. And without doing anything, I'm going to go into student mode. That works as well, because this channel output is controlling the rudder stick. Anywhere the rudder stick goes, it works. And that's the reason why 8 channels is generally enough. Even though that ailerons has 2 channels, elevator has 2 channels, rudder effectively has 2 channels. It has channel 4 for rudder and has channel 9 for steering. I did that with just 4 channels. So the basic 4-channel setup, I'm already set up for the majority of it. So the only thing we have to add is the other stuff. So let's take a look over here. So let's take a look over here. That's taken care of, that's taken care of, that's taken care of, that's taken care of. Aileron 2, elevator 2, that's taken care of. The next thing is flaps. So flaps is 2 channels. I control my flaps with a slider. A slider is an analog. So then I can go over here, set up an analog channel, and tell it to control that slider. Let's go ahead and do that. So on the trainer radio, I'm going to do flaps next. I'm going to go to mixes, and I'm going to create a new channel. So let's add a channel. Free mix is fine. Last position. And let's call this one flaps. Source, same as that one, is going to be this slider. Weight 100 is perfect, and the channel output down here is just my next free channel. There it is. So I've got my slider over here, if I can find it, there it is, on channel 5. So if we look over here, my actual flaps are on channel 7 and 8. But trainer, I go over here and look for channel 5, and channel 5 is there. It's got no destination. We tell it where we want it to go. So I'm going to go to channel 5 and make it replace. And the destination is going to be, and by the way, when you're doing this, take it out of trainer mode and then choose slider. If it's in trainer mode, sometimes when you move the slider, it doesn't quite work because it's trying to get input from this one as well. So get it out of trainer mode. Now move my slider over there, and it says analogs slider left. And again, I'm using channel 5 to replace this radio's slider left. Now, because of that, same thing. channel 5 over here moves over there, and look at the travels from minus 100 to positive 100. Now, let's take a look at outputs and look at my flaps. So my flaps controlled by this slider over here, and it goes from 59.4 to 65.2, 59.4 and 65.2. Let me turn on the trainer mode, and now I'll move that slider as well. 59.6, very close, actually, it's 59.6 to 65.3. So that's in effect exactly the same. The difference is they're both analogs, and there might be a little bit of difference in between them. If you are going to use a lot of sliders, it's a good idea to do a calibration on your master radio and your student radio as well. But that is essentially the same travel. So this is the up position, and let's go ahead and flip it to here. There's the up position, and let's flip it in and out, no difference. And I go to this position, and I put them both to the flaps down position, no difference. So effectively, with 5 channels, I'm controlling 8 channels. So let's move forward. The next thing that I need to do, let's take a look, is steering is done, gear. And gear right now is on this switch over here. So you got minus 100 and positive 100. Now, gear, unfortunately, is not an analog, or this switch, I should say, is not an analog. So this one, we cannot do the same trick that we did before. We actually have to move that channel over and replace this channel. So let's go ahead and create a gear mix over here. Add, free mix, last position. Let's call this one gear. Delete to center button to delete, and call it gear. And source is going to be this switch over here. And the output is going to be the next available channel, which is channel 6. Yes. So that works, and it should work the same. Now, because we're going to replace a channel, we want the values to be the same for the channel. So let's look at my gear over here. It is just minus 100 or positive 100. When it switches in this position, it is minus 100, and when I flip it towards me, it's positive 100. And I just make sure that this one does the same thing, because we are actually replacing that channel. So once I have that set up, this is channel 6, and that's going to channel 10. I go to the trainer system, and remember that these channels are this radio. So there's channel 6, and we see it work over there. I can go over here, always on replace, destination now is channel 10. Gear, there it is. All right, let's double check this now. And again, I like to go to outputs to check this. And right now I am in instructor mode. Okay, that position is minus 100, and towards me is positive 100. I go over here and switch it over to there it goes. So looking at the channel, the mix is from this radio, the channel is from here, and it should be the same. Minus 100, positive 100, the same. So that's perfect, that is set up. The next thing that I have is brakes, and brakes on this radio is on channel 11 and is controlled by this slider. So all the way back, or all the way one position is minus 100, and all the way this position is positive 100. So I just got to make sure it's the same over here. So remember, this is a slider. So since this is a slider, I can use the analogs to do it. So let's go ahead and create an analog for this. So or a channel for this, I should say. So let's add a channel and free mix, last position. And on the bottom, I'm just going to choose the next available channel, which is channel 7. And yes, okay, it doesn't really matter. Let's change the name over here, and this one is going to be breaks. And source is going to be this one over here, this slider right. And if I look at the bottom, there it is. So this is set up. And again, I'm going to take this channel and replace that slider. So the channel from the student radio replaces the slider on the master radio because it's an analog. Anything that's analog, so the sticks, the pots, this over here, or the sliders, you can do in that mode. I'm going to go to the trainer system. Whoops, wrong one. I'll go to the trainer system. And there it is. I can see it working on channel 7. And we go over here, replace. The destination is going to be an analog. And it's going to be, so again, if you see this happening, get out of trainer mode. And then now it should work. So let's take a look at this channel. So again, I go to outputs. It's always better to look at outputs. So my brakes are over there. So all the way this direction is brakes off, and all the way this direction is brakes on. So I'm going to go to brakes off, and I'll flip my switch. There it is. That's brakes off, and there's brakes on. Perfect. All right. The next thing that I have is speed brakes. Now, speed brakes I control by this over here, actually. This over here, sorry. Yeah, so I have speed brakes controlled by SD, and I have a slowdown. And if you also look, there's limits. So it doesn't go all the way. That one goes to 95, and then all the way the other direction goes to 88.9. And so because there's limits, and this is a switch, I have to then duplicate the channels between this radio and this radio. This radio's speed brakes and this one have to be the same because I'm replacing the channel and not a slider or a pot. I have, because it's on a switch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to that mix and go to speed brakes over here, edit it, and see how this setup is and duplicate it. So I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to create my speed brakes, add, free mix, last position, delete, 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 delete. Call it speed. That didn't work. Speed brakes. Source, same as that one, is going to be SD. Operation add, and then do the same stuff. So it looks like I need to add a slowdown over here. Two seconds, looks like. So you want to duplicate this exactly the same. I'm going to go to outputs, take a look at this. Output, and then this one, except for this, like this one's on channel 12. I only have 8 channels here. I believe 8's my last one, so that's it. Okay. So take a look at this. The mix down here. So here's something that, like, I'm not sure if a lot of people know. The yellow or amber is the output. The mix, which is essentially this mix or the combination of any other mixes that are there, is down here. it looks like even though the channel is reversed and it's got 88.9 instead of 100. So the limits were adjusted in the output. Because of that, I want to make sure this mix over here is 100% because this is 100%. See, that says 100% over there. And then if, oops, this one over here, I flip it over to the other side, that's going to go to minus 100. And I want to make sure they're the same. So I look at the green bar because this is a mix, and the green represents the mix. I make sure that that's the same. And it is. So the difference is in the output. So we can take a look at that output. I hope this makes sense to you guys. The reversing was done here, and that's why there's a difference between the two. And it looks like I did my limits for the speed brake here. So since it's on the outputs, I don't have to worry about it because all I'm dealing with is a mix over here, and it'll go to that output, then it'll get all this stuff. So it looks like I'm done with that. Then I just have to go into the trainer system, go down to that channel, which was channel 8, and mode replace. Destination is going to be a channel. And the channel that I want is the speed brakes channel, which was, I believe, 12. There it is. All right, so we are pretty much done. The only thing I would do, and this is a safety thing, it's not necessary, but it's a safety thing, is anything with trims, especially if you're using the analogs control, you want to turn off trim. So over here, ailerons, over here, I'm going to edit it. Scroll down until I get the trim, turn it off. Elevator, edit, trim, turn that off. Throttle, same thing, but it's just a little bit different in the menu. You got a trim over here, it says default, set it to none. And rudder over here, edit, and turn off this trim as well. So what you're doing is making it so that if inadvertently
Trim center. Trim center. Trim center.
the student hit those trims, it's not going to affect anything. So that's just a safety thing that'd be nice to do. You don't have to do it, but it is nice to do. So we are set up. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So I'm going to look at outputs over here. Model, outputs. So on this radio, which has 8 channels only because I'm in Bluetooth mode, I'm controlling 12 channels on this plane over here. So let's take a look at ailerons. There it is. It's working, and it's working on both channels. We can confirm by turning off and on the trainer mode that it's the same amount. And let's go turn the trainer mode back on, and we see that we still have our rates. And let's look at elevator. Elevator is good. Let's look at 47.2. I'm sorry, 48.2 on the channel. And if I go over to here, 48.5, pretty damn close. I think that's fine. It's just a difference in the analogs. Throttle works over here. And if I go into works 2, my throttle cut, oh, I don't think my throttle cut's set on this plane. Let me set it up really quick. Let's just make sure the throttle cut works the same. Let's go to throttle, edit, and throttle cut is on what? It was on SB. Oh, okay, it's on SB up. So that's throttle cut. Okay. I forgot, haven't flown this plane in a long time. I'm going to go back to outputs, and let's just make sure that throttle cut works. So right now, throttle cut is activated, and there we go. Go into there, still the same, because I'm using the stick or the analogs, not the channel. I'm not replacing the entire channel. If I replace the entire channel on that, then I have to reset the throttle cut on here too as well. And now throttle cut will be controlled by this radio, which in my opinion would be a bad thing. So there it goes, throttle cut, and let's go throttle active. That, with this one, there it is, perfect. Okay, rudder works. Rudder works over here. It doesn't work over here once I'm in that mode. And also steering works. Steering works. And we know the elevators work and flaps. Let's double check flaps. So flaps is on this slider over here. Let's go into trainer mode or student mode. There it is. And that's flaps down, flaps up. Let's go to flaps up over here. Go into this mode and it works the same. Perfect. Steering. Again, we check that. That works. And see, this is the problem. Gear and brakes. If they're in different positions, when you go to it, when you go into the trainer mode, it'll switch to it. And that's why I don't like putting gear, especially gear, on the student radio. If you were in the wrong position and you're on the ground, guess what? Your plane's gear is going to collapse. But there's steering over there. That works. And gear. Let's double check gear. So in this one over here, I believe gear is here. Yep, gear is here. Gear down. Let's make sure gear is down over here. Flip over to there and gear up. Perfect. Okay. And brakes. So brakes are on this slider over here. And let's go into, there it is. So brakes off, brakes on. Brakes off over there. Go over here. Brakes off, brakes on. Perfect. And speed brakes. So speed brakes are on, I believe, this switch. Yep, there it is. That works. And then if I go into, there it is, over there, sorry. So we look at the output now and not the mixes because that's going to be the actual output. So over there, we got 100. And if I flip it over here, we have the same thing over here with brakes. Perfect. All right, so that's it, guys. The big takeaway from this is the difference between analog mode and channel mode. If you are doing something with a stick or a pot or whatever, then you don't have to duplicate like endpoints or anything like that. You just use the analog and put that as what you put into that channel over there. So you have channel, so for example, channel 11, which is brakes. So channel 11, which is brakes, is actually, mixes over here, controlled by channel 7 from this radio. And since it's a slider, what I did was I chose the analog mode. And so this channel 7 is controlling that slider. So anywhere that slider is being used, it'll auto-populate, it'll just work because it's sort of like replacing this slider with this channel. That's pretty much it, guys. This is a 12-channel plane where I gave pretty much every single control to the student. What I did not give them was rates, which are controlled over here on the master radio, and trims. You don't want to give them any trims. You want the trims to always be controlled by the master radio. But that's it. This is a 12-channel plane controlled by an 8-channel trainer system. Thank you very much, guys. If you do have any questions, go ahead and email me at jose@freesky-rc.com. And you can leave a comment in the comment section of this video. Sometimes I get them, but I probably get them late because I don't seem to get proper notifications for that. But yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and email me. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good night.